on the roads without them being killed? What is the best way? Maybe your take. And do you think we can, as a youth, we will get the support from all these leaders who are calling for, you know, reminding the youth that they fight for their rights and for their country and for their future? Mr. Miguda. And then Jiru, you'll also give us your take on that. The best way to, just go through the revolution that they're calling for.
The best way, I just believe that it should be inclusion, whereby youth should be included in the decision making of the country. The reason why I insist on the inclusion is because even if our current leaders or former leaders are urging us to come out in large numbers to fight for our rights, but at what expense? Because we fought for our rights, and you, Marco Buddha, you are on that demonstration. You are part and parcel of that Gen Z protest during that breach to parliament. We fought, we were killed, we were abducted, but people like Mbadi were rewarded CS. People like Wandai were rewarded CS. Not that we are castigating them, but look at after we fought, what next? Even if Uhuru and others are urging us to fight, the question we are asking, we are fighting for who? They must be very clear. We cannot go to the street to fight to lose our lives so that people are going to get this position. That's why I begin by stating that there must be inclusion. Are youth included in decision making? If we can't be on that table, then it's high time we break that table, the way we have been popularly saying that this time now we are going to break that table. Youth must be on that table. Because we cannot go to street to fight, then there are other people who are going to negotiate behind us. That one will not happen. But we have also touched the issue of democracy. Democracy doesn't mean that we are only fighting on the street, that we must fight on the street, demonstrate, or we must fight online and be abducted. There are many avenues where we can fight. Even if you find yourself into parliament as a lawmaker, you can fight within parliament. If you find yourself as an officer of the judiciary, you can fight in the judiciary, or you can fight in the executive. Currently, we have youths who are the PS. They can fight in those executive, legislature, and judiciary. You can fight everywhere. You don't need to go to the street. And we are urging everybody, each and every youth, do not come out to demonstrate so that the police officers are going to kill you. Because after you are dead, the people who are going to be given position after you have lost your lives are not you people, not even the people who are at your caliber. They are going to recognize their friends and the big politicians. Therefore, youth should keep off from street to demonstrate. As a youth, I don't advocate for us to go back to the street to fight because we are tired of losing many lives and we're not getting anything. I'm also urging youths who are online that they should not press so much for anything that they are going to be abducted. Because when you are abducted, the president is coming out instead of defending you, say that you are being reunited by your family. Then I think we must be very strategic as young people, and we must also forge ahead. And we have also urged the people who can, if you are in capacity, contest for any seat. That is now you have asked me, how can we ensure that we make it without violence? We can go for these seats. There are vacant seats in this country. The entire parliament is vacant. People want new leaders. You can contest for those seats. Same time, we can also do it that we go, like we have said, registered massively, ensure that we participate in an election. People have been, why I don't like people coming out and telling people that Ruto is going to steal election. Ruto cannot be removed. It can be removed. I still believe that one. It can be removed. Ruto is not like that. It can be removed. Not that it cannot be removed. People are just trying to sell to you people fear that it cannot be removed. Don't register. No, you must register. You must come out in large number and vote. That is how we can do it peacefully. The reason why I want to also conclude by also trying to connect what you have asked me about the countries which have been the Kenyan country are dependent on those countries. Those countries are urging us to apply democracy because the the era of terror has been overtaken by events. You cannot rule the current generation with terror. So even if the president want to operate like a despot, like a tyrant, it is not applicable. That's why those people are trying to also urge him to embrace the democracy and also embrace the rule by the people for the people. That is the democratic exercise. Lastly, I still insist that there is no way we are going to be used because if at all we are going to be given, like I've said before, if you are going to be given at least even a millennium, let them give a millennium a deputy president position. And also, even if a president must be a Gen X, but at least a deputy president. Even the Speaker of the National Assembly should not be rectangular. How old is rectangular? We have youthful people, someone who should be even around 35 years of age should be a Speaker of the National Assembly. That is why I still believe that the only way that can be peaceful, there must be inclusion, and also there must be a point whereby we must agree that even though we are going to fight, but we are not going to fight for other people to benefit for our what we have fought for. That one must be understood very clear, and we do not owe anybody any explanation why we are saying that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miguda. Brother Njiru, what is your take? There has been calls that the youths has to stand up and come out in their large numbers to fight for their future, to fight for, good leadership. The question we are asking is, should they get out for this demonstration? Will they get
Okay.
assistance?
I want to changia on that, and thank you for brother. Tunamwitanga Miguda ama what is the name?
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Miguda. Yeah.
Miguda amekuwa a very paramount contributor hapa, na nimesikia hata amesema experience yake, he is a writer. Sikujua. I always thought that the only writers we have ni akina Professor Ngoge wa Thiong'o. Kumbe tuko na wengine ni vile hatuwajui. So mkubwa bana, Professor Ngoge wa Thiong'o is I think retired or is retiring. We use that one. So you need to take over that a lot. So tuanzie kuona novel zako, tuanzie kuona
Miguda, I hope umesikiza hiyo. I hope amekusikiza vizuri.
At least start bringing place to us. There is a lot you can now write about this regime. I have not seen a serious writer in Kenya, by the way, who is writing about the tribulations which are happening now. I don't know, like, where are Kenyan writers, by the way? Somebody can package a serious book about all the things which are happening, especially even this Gen Z revolution.
In Kenya today, if you try coming up with such kind of books, utalala ndani. So I think there's that fear.
Let me tell you, Ruto is a very small man, bana. Ruto is a very small. I don't know why. I don't know why. Huyu jamaa, let me tell you, Ruto hata hawezi fika level ya kina Putin.
You know what, Brother Njiru, let me tell you something. For example, my brother here, Miguda, he, like you said, he can write a book. But the question is, after writing the book, are you going to have peace? Will you work freely? And you still have, you have to survive. So that is the question that most of these people are asking. And there's that fear that has been instilled into some Kenyans. So that is one thing that we also have to accept. Even if you remember, yeah, I can hear you. Even if you remember the podcasters, those who are talking about the politics, some of them were silenced. And, they've not actually even come back. So it is a reality on the ground.
Let me tell you, although kuna mtu aliniambianga, wewe Njiro ni nini unasema Ruto is a very small man, and na mimi anishtuangi ati like I don't know why. Let me tell you, I've seen strong men in this life. I've not been born today. So when Bonobura, I tell you that I've seen strong men. I have seen people who could command power. Ruto cannot even command a fifth of what Putin commands. He cannot even command a fifth. Eh? Can Ruto even command 1/1,000 of what Kim Jong-un in North Korea is commanding? And some other strong men who I see around the world. So, but there's nothing bad in this life as a man who comes to attack his own citizens. Simply because those people are trying. Bwana Ruto has to understand, hata kuna kitu nataka kumwambia, disagreements are always there. Now, you will not cajole people, you will not push people into agreeing with you deliberately. Wacha niingie hiyo story ya Kenyatta and the Kenyatta family. In fact, we don't require Kenyatta family to tell us to fight for our right. That is an initiative which we can tell ourselves. We know things are not okay. So we don't need Kenyatta, we don't need his brother to tell us to fight for our lives. In fact, they are just becoming opportunists of the agitation and the silent revolution which is happening in Kenya. And what Uhuru and his brother and that kingship, what they are trying to do is they don't want to be punished by the revolution when it comes. Uhuru asha truncate na ameona ya kwamba an inevitable revolution is coming. What do? I better be on the windward side of the revolution. If I am on the windward side of the revolution, already Uhuru, hata kama he is cooperating with Ruto, he is not cooperating openly. Yeye hakujiingiza direct kama vile Raila alijiingiza. And that is why Raila has been openly been attacked, because Raila engulfed himself openly in the government. Akina Uhuru hata kama wanaoperate kuna vile yao ni kama like you need to stand it to understand. So that is the issue. So Uhuru is just trying to be on the bright side of the country. He doesn't want people to criticize him when chicken will come home to roast. The truth of the matter is that there is a silent revolution which is happening in Kenya. The Kenyan government will be taken over someday, even if not today. Something bigger than Gen Z revolution will come and engulf Kenya, because we are having a very big population which is awakened. And don't think that the Gen Z revolution was silenced. In fact, that Gen Z revolution will become viral. It will give rise into something else bigger. And I can assure you, a revolution is coming in, a breakup revolution, because we're already in a revolution process, but a breakup revolution will come in Kenya. And for the first time in the history of Kenya, you will hear Kenyan politicians being dragged, being removed from their offices, na wakiwa wanafanyiwa vitu vibaya sana. So what people are trying to do, they are just trying to identify with the revolution. They are not trying to block the revolution. So Uhuru is trying to help himself. He knows that things are going to boil and boil properly. Even if sio hii mwaka, but Kenyan revolution cannot be postponed. I'm telling you, a Kenyan president will be overthrown. Whether he mwaka next year ama mwaka mwingine. But we are standing on the periphery of a country which will overthrow its own president. And we are here and watch that space. So, Bwana Obura, to finish my statement, Uhuru is just trying to help himself. He is trying to embed himself into the history of Kenya. Even with the many evils which he has done, it reached a level whereby he understood the moment of time. So that's all what he is doing. So he is just trying to rejuvenate himself, or re-engineer himself, bringing himself on the side of people. And to whether he supports the people, I don't know. But he is just trying to be on the right side of the history. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for giving your take. Asili is saying here that Njiru, stop making it look good for Uhuru. If Raila did wrong, Uhuru was a party. And yeah, I think that's the only comment.
Okay, 1 minute, Obura. I'm not saying it to look good for Uhuru. What I've said is that I have even said that even on the many evils he has done, Uhuru is trying to recreate himself. He is now putting himself on the right direction of revolution. I did not say that he is a good man. He is doing the right thing. But Nasema, Uhuru is just conniving. He is just coming on the side of people. That's why he is doing all those talks. I initially also said that he is cooperating with Ruto. but an advanced level of cooperation. And that's why I don't like all those things, because I don't know on what reign he is operating. But the truth of the matter is, Uhuru Kenyatta is trying to recreate and remain himself. Thank you. I would have to restart my computer because ni kama kila kitu imepotea. I'll be coming back. So you can be talking with the Obura, with the Miguda for a
Okay.
while.
Okay. Thank you so much. Maybe Miguda Gitonga here is saying that tribalism will kill us. Okay. Miguda, something else that we were talking about yesterday that we did not really get a clear explanation about is the ruling by the Supreme Court, by the court that what the deputy chief justice did while he was appointing the bench to hear the you know to hear the impeachment of the former deputy president was declared as something that was illegal. And so the question we were asking is, where do we then go next? Does that then, does it then mean that we have a deputy president, Professor Kithure Kindiki, serving illegitimately as the deputy president? And another question that you can also clarify to us is, do you think Gachagua then, after that ruling, does he have another chance of being brought back as a deputy president? What does the constitution say or clarify about that, Mr. Miguda?
The fact of the case is very unequivocal that let me begin by answering your last point or your last ending. You asked me about whether DP former Gachagua can come back as the deputy president. That one is a big no. He cannot. Gachagua can only come back to the executive through a constitutional process. And the only constitutional process that can make Gachagua to come back to the executive is either we impeach Kindiki and nominate Gachagua, or we can go through another election with William Ruto as the presidential candidate and Gachagua as the deputy president. But as things stand right now, Professor Kithure Kindiki is the legitimate deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. Gachagua can only come back through constitutional process. Right now is the ex-deputy. Now, let me delve into details of the case. First, like we have said before, there was a court order from Kerugoya law courts that stopped Kindiki to be sworn in as the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. And there was an order given by 3 judge bench that disallow the court order from Kerugoya and allow Kindiki to be sworn in. Those are different cases. Then we also have the constitution of the 3 judge bench by Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu. Now, the question at stake right now, which was taken to the Court of Appeal, was the issue of DCJ Philomena Mwilu has a right to constitute the 3 bench judge to hear and determine case of Rigathi Gachagua. That is what is at stake. So you must distinguish them and put them differently and deal with the issue of the DCJ Philomena Mwilu. So that's what was determined at the Court of Appeal. Now, my response is the process by Philomena Mwilu was outruled by the Supreme Court. But remember, during the High Court, there was that contest of that question. And the response was very clear that because we have a substantive question of the Constitution, whenever there is a substantive constitutional question, we go to that provisions in Article 152, 53. You understand that DCJ is the deputy CJ. Now, that is why she was mandated by the substantive question of the Constitution to carry out that task. That one aside. Now, the Court of Appeal has now made its ruling. But the ruling of Court of Appeal does not, has not disallowed what the Peruvian law court stated, or has not disallowed what the ruling of the judges stated. There is no connection of why Kindiki was sworn in, or there's no connection of why Kindiki ought not to be sworn in, and there's no connection of why Kindiki was nominated illegitimately without the IBC constituted with the reconstitution of the three-judge bench. So after you have distinct them, now let us deal with this reconstitution of the three-judge bench by the DCJ. Now people are moving to Supreme Court because the Court of Appeal is not final. They will move to Supreme Court for further interpretation. And that one does not stop Kindiki to serve as the legitimate deputy president. That's like I've told you. Rigathi Gachagua can only come back through constitutional process. He cannot come back because of the ruling of the Court of Appeal about the reconstitution of the DCJ. The people will ask you, now Migoda, you have stated very clearly, but how is it that Kindiki is serving as the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya with this unconstitutional constituted bench? The response is Professor Kithure Kindiki, there was impeachment process by the Parliament, National Assembly, the Senate. And during the ruling by the three-judge bench, whether Kindiki to be sworn in or not, the main basic why Kindiki was sworn in was only on one condition, that public interest, that Kenyan people, or the provision, the timeline by the Constitution does not allow Kenyan state to have a president minus deputy president within a certain framework of time, because anything can happen to Kasongo. Kasongo can resign, Kasongo can sometimes, unfortunately, can die, Kasongo can be impeached. And in any circumstances, such things happen. What do you do with this office of the presidency? We must have a deputy president of the Republic of Kenya within a certain framework of time, because the other one was impeached. Now, this unconstituted bench by the Court of Appeal, which did it so, as a duty by them to allow or charge the swearing in of Kithure Kindiki, because the public interest and the question of the constitution that the Kenyan state must have a deputy president within a certain framework of time. Kindiki is serving as the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya in accordance with the requirement and outline of the constitution and the public interest. But we understand that the process to some extent was illegitimate, because nomination of the president to National Assembly and approval minus IBC, that there was no IBC to clear Kindiki. And that the question of there was no IBC to clear Kindiki is also being dealt with separately at Court of Appeal. We are yet to get the findings. So that is where the case is. But the question is well answered, that the only route for Rigathi Gachagua to come back to the executive, the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, is through constitutional process. That is the only route you can make it the president of the Republic of Kenya. And the point also must be understood that the Court of Appeal is not the superior court that can make final decision. There is a superior court, the apex court, the Supreme Court, also has further interpretation, which we are waiting. And you cannot celebrate at the Supreme Court, at the Court of Appeal, and remember the original jurisdiction was at the High Court, that DCJ under substantive constitutional questions has a duty to perform whenever there is an absence of CJ. People might ask, why could CJ appear virtually? Or why could CJ state so and so? But there are some circumstances that maybe she can be sick, or maybe she was unavailable, maybe she was on leave. The constitutional duties must be discharged within the framework given by the constitutional timeline. We cannot wait for someone to come and perform that test, and we have a deputy chief justice by the name Philomena Mili. So those things must be understood at that level. And now I think people are now measuring on how can Rigathi Gachagua come back to the executive, but people are not looking at the ruling of the Court of Appeal. The ruling was that the bench was was constituted unconstitutionally, and that's now our focus should be on that. Why was that bench constituted unconstitutionally? Not how can Rigathi Gachagua come back to the executive. The only route is constitutional process. Back to you, Marco Buda.
Okay, thank you. That ruling has brought a lot of political, how do I put it? It has reignited a lot of political moves, especially by the opposition. Remember, previously, Gachagua would say that I'm not interested in being the president, but I'll be able and I'll easily support anyone for that position. And he mentioned names, whether it is Kalonzo, whether it is Matiang'i, or whoever. With that ruling, I'll just ask you again, does it mean that he's now permitted to run for any post? That is number one. And then number two, Gachagua officially resigned from UDA party, and he promised that he's going to unveil a party on Thursday, if I'm not wrong. How is that going to change, with that ruling and this party coming? How is it going to change the politics of the opposition and also the politics of the Republic of Kenya?
The first question, yes or no? Yes, depending on the outcome of the Supreme Court, because the matter must be concluded conclusively by the apex court. That's when I can give my opinion. But let us not celebrate right now that he has been permitted to run for presidency. Of course, he has been permitted right now. But what if the matter proceeds to the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court rely on the High Court decision and make it that the constitution, the reconstitution of that bench was in accordance with the constitution. It means that now it will be dealt with and concluded conclusively at the apex court. Right now, Rigathi Gachagua will not vie for any seat because he will stand impeached. The reason why I was saying yes is because sometimes it can proceed to the apex court and they rely on the court of appeal decision. With that, it can proceed to vie for the presidency. So it is a yes or no, depending on the timeline on the case will be concluded conclusively. Remember, let me cite one case, the case of Sonko. When Sonko was about to run for the Mombasa gubernatorial. It forced the legal team to go and seek clarification and further interpretation to the Supreme Court. Because with that gap minus further interpretation of the Supreme Court, there was no clear indication that Sonko could vie or not. That's why they went further in Supreme Court for further interpretation, and the Supreme Court pronounced itself categorically that Sonko stand impeached, therefore cannot run for the gubernatorial. That's why the legal team must move swiftly to the apex court for us to get the conclusive information. That is now we can come here and debate. Number one, on your previous question, the only route for Rigathi Gachagua to executive is through constitutional process. Number two, Rigathi Gachagua fate will be determined by the apex court, whether he's going to run or not. We must wait. Lastly, you have asked me about the issue of the political temperature in Mount Kenya and the political now realignment, the fact that he can run or not. There is still this probability. We are not certain sure that he might run or not. But in case he doesn't run for the president, in case he doesn't, in case the Supreme Court permit him to run, I can tell you that we are going to have a Mount Kenya candidate for the presidency. There's no way Gachagua has been permitted to run for the presidency. He's going to support Matiang'i or Kalonzo or Eugene or Natembea. Reason is people usually sit down and they will ask you, how many votes do you have? Like Gachagua have maybe 5 million. How do you support someone with 1.2 million and you have 5 million votes? Then other than votes, they will ask you, how much do you have? What they did to Kalonzo. When Kalonzo was demanding for the position of the deputy president or running mate for Raila Odinga, they asked Kalonzo Musyoka, okay, you have votes, but how much do you have? Then there was somebody paid for, somebody sponsored Karua to be Raila's running mate. Those are intels with people, some are not paid to the public. But it has been even the 2017, when Kalonzo was given that running mate for Raila Odinga, Dama came out and stated clearly that it is him who paid for Kalonzo to be the running mate. So there are things that must be asked first. That how much do you have to sponsor the presidential candidate? How many votes do you have from your community? How can someone with more votes support someone with lesser votes? It is quite impossible. It cannot happen when people are sitting on the table, unless it is certain cases whereby now a Kikuyu president was leaving and they were ready to support another person like Kikuyu. That's why Rigathi Gachagua has to play a second field to Ruto. But in this case, whereby Matiang'i got 1.2 million votes, Rigathi Gachagua got 5 million, how do you support someone with 1.2 million votes? Gachagua, if at all is permitted by the Supreme Court to run for the presidency, there's no way Gachagua is going to support Matiang'i. Gachagua will go for it. It's Matiang'i to support Gachagua. Number two, if Gachagua is going to be disallowed by the court not to run for any seat, he must sacrifice. He's neither going to play second field nor going to go for presidency. There must be now a new formation. Either Kalonzo Matiang'i or Matiang'i Natembea. It will depend on how they decide. That's why I feel I'll just urge the people to be a little bit patient before they make a conclusive fate of Rigathi Gachagua, because there is still legal questions. There are still some substantive constitutional questions that must be addressed by the apex court of the Supreme Court. So once we are done that question, we come back to conclusion. But right now, we are ready to discuss the fate of Rigathi Gachagua or the fate of his new political party.
There's a question for you on the screen. One them is asking Nico Naswali for Miguda. What is Orengo trying to say? Miguda?
Okay, I'll respond to 1dem99. very candidly, and he need to correct. I'm not Oguda. I'm Meguda. We are far from Oguda. I'm Meguda. Orengo is trying to say, Orengo has said many things, so I don't know which context is he referring to, but for me to have a brief about it because Orengo has been
I think he's asking
objecting.
about his political stance lately. I think that is what he's asking.
Orengo, I personally, one day 99, I'm a firm believer and I'm a follower and a supporter and someone who understands James Orengo. And I think I'm one of the people who understands him better. Orengo is very clear in his mind. It's very clear. Orengo, first, as a defender of the human rights and a constitutional lawyer and a government officer, he has some duties to perform and as a patriot. Orengo is simply defending the rights of the people. Orengo is advocating for the compensation of the victims. Orengo is telling the government that they are liable for the people who died during demonstration and the people who lost their lives and who were injured. It's trying to remind them that you need to protect the citizens because you took an oath of an office to protect your citizens. Therefore, your police officers cannot kill your citizens and you are running out of responsibility. You are running out of liability. You don't want to be liable. Defending the rights of the people, number one. Number two, Orengo is defending the constitution because it's very clear in black and white that each and every person has a duty to defend the constitution. Each and every person has a duty to uphold the constitution. Because you sworn in with the Bible and the constitution, you are going to uphold that constitution. Therefore, you must uphold that constitution. Constitution is very clear that each and every person has a right to life. It's very clear that the president is the symbol of the national unity. Therefore, you cannot purport to be the president and you are not ready to compensate for the lives which you have all the constitution you are going to protect. And the constitution is very clear that you must respect those rights and fundamental freedoms. Orengo is defending the institution that the fact that he's the governor of CI and Mr. Ruto is the president of the Republic of Kenya, he got no issue with the president. There's that coordination and cooperation between the county government and the national government. And there's that separation of power, checks and balances between the judiciary, executive judiciary, and the legislature. Therefore, those institutions must be respected. The president must respect parliament. The president should not compromise members of parliament. The president should not capture parliament. He must respect independence of the parliament. Parliament ought to be independent. The parliament should not be run from the executive. The president should stop influencing decisions by the courts. Courts need to be independent. The president should stop carrying out duties which are recognized by the constitution that belongs to the county government. The issue of markets. We understand that markets belong to the county government. Health has been devolved, but now is coming to override at the issues which should be dealt with at county level. That one is not respected. So Orengo is very clear, and you cannot even have an impeachment motion against Orengo because there is no gross violation on Orengo, there's no gross misconduct, there is no crimes that he has committed either locally or internationally. And if you bring an impeachment motion, maybe it can be impeached by the county assembly because the ODM fact or the ODM factor in that region. But the Senate might save Orengo, the courts might save Orengo. That's why Orengo is very clear, and there's no issue here. It's just a matter of trying to enlighten the people. The only point of departure I have with Orengo is that Orengo wants people to go to the streets. And we are telling Orengo, no, the fact that we align with your thoughts and your opinions, we are not going back to the street, because if you go back to the streets, the Kenya National Police Service Commission is ready with live rounds and tear gas and water cannons, and some people can lose their lives. So we are not going back to the street. Number two, we are not going to do it unless that we are going to be abducted. So if Orengo can understand that we are not going back to the street, we respect the rights of the people, the constitution, the institution, and most importantly, we are going to advocate and transform the country peacefully, constitutionally, not through violence.
Mr. Migura, the last question before you go, there's a question here again from one day. Is asking, if I may ask, what has Ruto done for Nyanza to support him, according to people on the ground? Especially Miguda, what do you think of this IEBC? You can give your take on that, and then after that, we'll just close. Maybe a reminder to our viewers, this is Brother Benson Media, and we are also live at Brother Njiru Maura. So if you are watching from Brother Njiru Maura, you can also cross over and subscribe to Brother Benson Media, because we do a similar content. If you are also watching from over here at Brother Benson, you can also as well subscribe to Brother Njiru Maura. If you do so, it is a way of supporting us, and we'll really, really appreciate. Mr. Miguda, your last take on that comment, that question.
To begin with the first question, we are yet to witness what Ruto has done to the people of Nyanza. As things stand right now, there's no some substantive thing Ruto has done to the people of South Nyanza, other than collaborating with their regional kingpin. That's the only thing he has done. He has collaborated with the kingpin of the region, and he has also incorporated some two individuals from Nyanza or three into the government. But that he has done something to the people of support him. Also, you must also understand that Kenyan politics is more of tribal and is local. And the fact that right now the people of Mount Kenya have, have sidelined William Ruto, automatically the people of Luo Nyanza will shift where there is no Mount Kenya. It is politics. It's always that, because you understand, there is no way people try to be united in 2002, but from 2002, whenever there is Mount Kenyan candidate, there's been a lake candidate. So I think that is what Ruto is thriving on. He's trying to take advantage of the situation. That, and not that people of Nyanza are going to support him because Ruto is making some development towards, or Ruto has improved their livelihood of the people of Nyanza. No, he has not done something the people of Nyanza. It's just a matter of politics. Politics of hatred, politics of ethnicity, the local politics, that's it's a certain region. I think that's why they are trying to support. But let me tell you one thing. It's not that the people of Nyanza are going to support William Ruto overwhelmingly. That is not surety, because if Raila Odinga has been on the ballot, Raila Odinga, you understand the way he commands massive numbers in that region. But you find out that 700,000 registered voters did not turn out to vote for Raila. So Ruto, I don't think many people can turn out to vote for Ruto. And also the fact that Raila is not on the ballot, many people will not waste their time to vote. So Ruto might pick some small votes in Nyanza. That's a fact. You can look for some votes elsewhere. And you have asked me about the issue of IBC. IBC, like we have said before, and we have said that IBC, as currently constituted, there is so much interest from the political class than the public. the members of the public have not been represented. The people who have been represented are the political class, and you have had people like Alonso crying left, right, and center because their people have not been incorporated. People thought that Nyachai could be given the chairperson or Amadi, depending on who was the favorite, because people understand Amadi is Raila's person, Nyachai Ruto's person. But we understand the current chair for the IBC, Edmund is from Turkana, and he serves as the county attorney when Nanok was the governor. And remember the government of Turkana for the last 10 years, when Nanok was the governor, it was the government for the ODM because Nanok was an ODM guy. And now bringing chairperson who serves the county attorney of the ODM. And right now, Nanok is more of a P of Ruto State House. It means that this chairperson as a line to Raila and Ruto. So that is their person, chairperson, and the Ritu, you understand where she came from, political parties, and also what she did to ODM by the time she was getting instruction from William Ruto. And that is those person. This Obiambo from Kisumu and someone from Lamu, someone from also from, I don't know, Mandela or Garis. You understand right now the collaboration between the government and the people, the Somali nation. So basically, I can conclude by saying that the constituted IBC is aligning to the status quo. It is going to work for the status quo, and that's why because they have that prerogative to appoint the chairperson and other commissions. So it was obvious they were going to appoint the people who are aligned to their thoughts. And that's why we are telling the people that it should not worry you. It's a matter of how the opposition are going to organize themselves. Because with them right now, what they're having the national returning officer, that's the chairperson for the IEC. So the constitution is very clear that the only person who is mandated to hear Mr. President is the chairperson for the IEC, that guy from Turkana. What happened previously? You understand, even when we have two factors, previous elections, there was Cherera 4 and Chebukati 3. But even if the dissenting opinion was the majority could not declare Raila because the only person who is supposed to declare the president is the returning officer. That's why Ruto had his way with Chebukati, and Chebukati had to declare Ruto because that's what it is provided the position. That's why I believe that currently the status quo, they are aware that Edmund is the only person who can declare the president, even if you have different factors, whereby even you have the majority, because it is obvious that when you have the majority and the minority, the majority must have a say. But the constitution is strict to an extent that even if you have the majority in that commission, but the only person who can declare the president is the chairperson. So I believe that IBC is aligned, the entire commission is aligned to the status quo. That one must be understood very well. Back to you, Makubura.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Migoda, for giving that clarification. To our viewers, once again, you're watching us in two channels, one Brother Benson Media and the other one Brother Njiru Maura talk talk room or talk show. Yeah, so if you're watching us from either, we kindly request you that if you're watching at Brother Benson, you can cross over and also subscribe at Brother Njiru Maura. If you're watching at Brother Njiru Maura, you can also cross over and subscribe at Brother Benson Media. We do similar contents and we are requesting for your support by simply subscribing. We really appreciate. Thank you so much. One Day 99. I think Miguda has answered you very well. Miguda, I'll give you a chance to give your last remarks before we close.
My last thought, I would just like to focus on the youths that We know that we have the energy, we have the synergy to fight for our rights. But even though we are fighting for our rights, the political rights, we should also consider the economical rights and our social rights. We cannot only fight on the street. The street is no longer safe for young people because National Police Service Commission getting instruction from somewhere to deal with the people ruthlessly. We have lost so many lives. We are not ready to lose any life. Therefore, we urge the young people that if we must fight for our rights, let us use other avenues other than the street. The street is not safe. And let not politicians ride on the wave of the youth because with them, after we have lost our lives, they're the people who are getting positions. And they're the people, some certain people right now, trying to align with the wave of the youth. But I ask your question, as a young person, are you included? Are you on that table? Or are you on the menu? Most of times we are on the menu to be eaten. But we want to ask them that this time round, we want to be on the table and we want to be where the decision of Kenya is being made. It must be part and parcel. It must be included. They show inclusivity. And if you cannot include us on that table, we are going to find our ways to legislature. We are going to find our ways to the executive. We are going to find our ways to the judiciary. We know how it will happen. Some will contest, some will get, some will lose. But the youth, if you get a youth as an aspirant, try to reconsider that youth and reward that youth so that we can have large number. We can be represented in the legislature. We can be represented in the executive. We can be represented in the judiciary because it is not only the street. It cannot only happen this. Even we can get a CS for finance as a youth or a CS for energy so that we can articulate our issues on those levels because people always have this belief that we can only solve our issues on the street. The more we go to the street, the more we lose our lives. Therefore, let us try to use other tactics and also we change our tactics and try to see how we can occupy these positions because we are the majority. Even if we decide that today the Nairobi governor must be a youth, we are going to elect a youth as Nairobi governor. The Nairobi senator must be, and all the Nairobi parliamentary seats is going to be occupied by youths. We are going to fix all members of parliament in Nairobi. They are going to be youths. It is very possible. Even our women rep, we must make sure that we bring a youthful women rep. That's how we can deal with these people. Let us not go to the street to be killed. We need those people because we are young people. We are still having a very long way to go. Let's just try to support our fellow. We don't even need to bribe your youth to vote for you. Just allow them to set their policies, articulate their issues. They don't need to bribe you. They don't need to have big cars or big houses. Provided is having an ideology and a philosophy that resonates so well with the transformation of the country, allow that person to participate in legislation, so to participate in education, also to participate in enforcement. That's my appeal to the youth. Back to you, Makobura.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Miguda, for finding time to be with us, and to Brother Njiru as well, and also Brother Benson. I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge and to say a big thank you to everyone who joined us this evening. We really appreciate the fact that you took your time and you joined us and you participated in one way or another. We really appreciate and we pray that may God bless you abundantly. I also want to take this opportunity now to also wish you all a blessed night, a blessed morning, a blessed afternoon, a blessed evening from wherever you are watching us from. Thank you so much, and we hope that you'll join us again tomorrow. May God bless you. Asante sana. See you again tomorrow.